when it's non-prismatic. A lot of the economy augments. Economy augments, I think, on prismatic are really risky because you lose so much combat power that often you just get pounded in the early game and you lose so much health. So, you know, it is kind of one of those like high risk, high reward styles, but it's really interesting because especially in gold and silver augments, I think people really do place a high priority on those econ augments because, you know, it allows you to play almost to the same kind of tempo and timings that you did previously, right? On the previous patch where you can play around Disco or Karthus, the 4-cost headliners, and still be rolling on 4-1-4-2 and have a lot of gold to do it. So, you know, then if you can hit that headliner at that timing, it's obviously a lot stronger. So it's going to be interesting going forward. I wasn't expecting to go for Prismatic Symphony.
No, not at all.
Excuse me, Prismatic Prelude, I should say. But, you know, maybe we'll get some more exciting portal choices in these coming games as well.
Crab Rave.
Yeah, brave. I'm so down.
It would be so funny. Like, but I can't imagine being a tournament player. Like, if it's me, I'm playing online, who cares? Right? I'm going to click it every time. But
Griefing
can you
everybody.
imagine getting eliminated in a tournament by the crab?
I promise you, replay will one guy that portal every time. A replay has like a history of one guy in the portal that no one wants to play because he thinks that everyone else will be so uncomfortable that it gives him an edge.
Mental edge.
Yeah.
I swear that is real. Some people will get tilted if you take a portal like that, and if you get it and you're the 1 in 8 chance and it actually rolls to you. Everyone's on like Silver Symphony and you're on Crab Rave and you get it. There's gonna be some players that are instantly tilted by you, and you might just be in a great mindset. So
there you go.
Who knows?
It's all about being confident, and if you're confident and you're having fun, maybe that's the recipe for success that these players are looking for. So I would love to see if that comes to fruition. I think like one final note that I have about maybe one of the prismatics is I just got to ask about the going long choice. You know, we saw Jax take going long, and I'm curious about your thoughts. Is that an augment that you take, or is that something that you feel like if you're offered this, you just have to be in a specific spot to take it?
So going long is pretty interesting because it gives you a lot of economy in the way that it levels you up, right? You can't make interest anymore. You gain XP every single round. So a lot of your gold instead can just be used to try and improve your board, or it can be used to push levels faster. I saw a game from Appy's where he went to level 7 on 2-7 playing around going long. So going long can allow you to even contest the Cruel Pack player for the speed in which you level up. But then even past that, you can go to level 8 faster than anyone else and utilize that to hit either Pentacoli or Disco before any other player can. And so that's usually the way that we see it played. And we didn't really see Jax use it for tempo in this game. He didn't have one of the, early win streaks. He didn't try and push the levels and, get those shot bots to try and get more that way. But I think Jax was ending up still going for, one of the lines. I think he was on Pentacoli in that game. So still going for that. And I think that going long in general does help you just open up the 4-cost lines a lot better.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's not something that I play a lot with because honestly, I don't really know the augment that well. So it's not something I'm super comfortable with, and I haven't really played it a lot. But it is interesting, right? Because you're talking about like using it to push levels. And the couple of times I've seen it in a lot of my games, people are almost playing it like, oh god, well I can't even think what the gold augment was that gives you gold per round, but it took away your ability to get interest. Yeah, I felt like people were playing it like Hustler almost, right? Where they're just like rolling to 0 and just trying to play win streak boards. So it is interesting to see kind of the different styles that you can play. I know some people have been experimenting with it, and when you can learn those lines, like that's one of the things that you can get an advantage, right? There's so many different combinations that even tournament players are not going to be comfortable with every single augment. They're not going to be comfortable with every portal and augment combo. And the strengths of different augments and lines can drastically change based on your portal as well, right? So it is one of those things that being a really well-rounded player and someone who has experience with all these different things gets a big advantage. And that's why you see some of the biggest pros, biggest streamers who are just grinding out like 20-30 games in a session because they want to be able to have the experience with all these different lines. So when it happens in a tournament game, they're comfortable. They have an idea of how to play it out where some of their opponents might not.
Oh, I'm so pumped to see if maybe we find somebody that can crack the code of playing Twin Terror. That's not just the OP composition. We'll have to wait and find out. It's just the first game done as we take a look at our players that are in 64th through 49th place. People that were standing out to me, Ashmu, K3 Soju, both took an 8th in that first game.
Yeah, Dish Soap as well. It was pretty surprising. Dish Soap is somebody who plays, pretty consistently, for that top 4. We don't see a lot of 8s out of Dish Soap. A lot more of the time we'll see something like a 6th as a low placement that we see out of him. So an 8th to start the day, definitely not what you want to see, especially when we talk about how, hey, you cannot bomb out of a cup.
Yeah. I mean, it's really interesting because I feel like Dishop's also pretty vocal about preferring, 4-cost flex lines. And I don't feel like that's really the meta right now. He doesn't like the reroll metas nearly as much. That's not really his style. So I think, this may be a little bit away from his comfort zone. But looking up at all these people who hit first, we have Rot Ripple up there, Degree, Spicy Abbeys, Pokegom, Kiyun. So a lot of really strong players up towards the top. Setsuko, I saw, took a 3rd. So there are some of the favorites that are still performing well, but definitely some surprises down towards the bottom. But it is only game number 1. There's a lot of TFT to play. And the reality is it's a high variance game, right? You can play a great game and still sometimes have that low placement. So we'll have to see how you can bounce back, because that to me is almost the biggest factor, is like, how are you affected mentally by this, right? If you take an 8th in game 1, can you actually just like shake that off and be able to perform at a high level?
Yeah, and don't forget, we are going to be reseeding these lobbies after every 2 games as well. So that's a little bit of a shakeup that might give you that extra life you need in order to actually make it further in the competition. So we're going to go ahead and get ready for that second game ahead of us in day 3 of the KDA Cup. Can some of these players that went 8th turn their fortunes around and maybe be able to grab that first in this next game? Let's find out and kick things over to Gangly and Crowan for this next game.
Thank you very much. A wonderful breakdown of game number 1, Gangly. There's so much action, so much to talk about, and there continues to be, right? What are your thoughts after game number 1, especially heading into game 2?
Listen, I mean, we've said it so many times, even in the short time we've been on this broadcast, that there's no margin for error here at the KDA Cup, right? You really need to be able to focus and turn it around if things go poorly. Some of these players are going to be starting off the day with the 7th, with an 8th, and being able to maintain your mental is really, really important. That's why I think it's important to acknowledge the fact that we have 14 players debuting in the second weekend of a cup. That's 14 players who have never made it to days 3 or 4. And I know even in this upcoming lobby, we have 4 of those players. So what I'm really interested in seeing at this point in the tournament going on is those players who are new to the scene. We heard it from Humbug earlier, right? He said, the thing that changed in me is that I learned how to focus. Mental is such an important part of competition, even more so in TFT, because it's a decision-making game. For those players who did start off with a 7th or an 8th, and these new players in the field like Kaiwang, Biri, I Like Cats 3, and DK, can they turn it around if they have a low roll moment to find themselves back on the upswing and stabilize their, quite honestly, their tournament life into 10?
Exactly. There's even, out of the players who are debuting in their second weekend of a cup, 3 out of 4 in this lobby that we're looking at right now in game number 1, they went top 4, right? There was Kaiwang getting 2nd, DK getting 3rd, I Like Cats 3 getting a 4th place. Only one who wasn't able to is Biri, but it is only one game, right? There is still a lot of room for improvement, and especially, it's gonna be a treat to watch Ashbu, of course. To see the player cam right now, I just get excited seeing all the reactions and everything that's going through his head. It's just such an experience. If you didn't get a chance to see him at the Vegas Open, today is gonna be quite the treat for you, of course. But there's also a couple players that I really want to highlight in this lobby as well, right? T-Lides being one of them, got 3rd in the Runeterra Forge finals, made it all the way to the World Championships. Darth Nub almost did as well, got 3rd in the Runeterra Forge mid-set, 4th in the regional finals, so just narrowly didn't make it to Worlds. But these are players that are so strong. I'll be really curious to see how they do fare against the players who are debuting in their second weekend as we get on into round number 2, Gangly.
All right, a couple different players standing on that Prismatic Symphony. We heard it from Azael in the break that if you can find the mental edge of throwing your opponents off, sometimes that can be the difference maker. But 6 of the 8 players on this field want to play with the completed anvil. We'll see if that's where it's going to land. And Darth Nub,
Prismatic.
the Prismatic Symphony. So in this portal, it means all 3 augment. It is a symphony of prismatic augment. Everything is going to come up prismatic at 2-1, at 3-2, and at 4-2. Players will be offered their choice of these extremely volatile augments. And if we didn't see enough of the power gap in the last game, I think we're going to see it even more so this one.
Oh, 100%, right? We're going to be seeing similar things at 2-1 in terms of that power gap, but at 3-2 and 4-2, it's going to get even crazier, right? And I'm really excited to see those augments that we kind of, missed out on game number 1. There's so many in the game, right? But maybe this time around, we'll see things like Twin Terror. We did see Going Long, right? And that's one of the ones I was curious about. And unfortunately, did go 8th place, right? Vantage Jax was not able to convert that into his disco board. I didn't quite see kind of how that manifested. I think that level 8 roll down was a little subpar, just wasn't able to stabilize. But again, right, how can players find these opportunities, especially with I Like Cats here getting a Samira gifted to them with an orb, having a Tom Kent in the shop. Country is a thing that we didn't see as well in game number 1, at least in our lobby, but especially with that change that that Jazz emblem is now a country emblem with spat and a cloak. We could be seeing some super capped country boards here.
Wow, the Vi Mosher headliner being picked up. This is one of those headliners that in the last patch, you really would not see anybody picking this up. This time around, Vi does get a buff. And with the 4 Mosher off the start, I'm curious to see what this opener looks like. This is definitely, it's one of those openers where it's very patch dependent. And if it's strong enough, I mean, we might actually see this Vi take over.
Yeah, talking about the econ augments, I believe Azael mentioned just a few minutes ago that like when it's a prismatic augment, the econs feel a little bit less good because all the combat power that other players get is gonna be insane. Shopping Spree is super interesting though. I think that's actually a really solid augment. But,
I like that a lot here.
Oh, let's roll the dice though.
Yeah. On the other hand, Robyvan takes the Twin Terror. Wow. Twin Terror with the double Corky. This is honest. So here's the thing. It is strong right now. The reality, though, is it actually doesn't matter how strong it is right now because on 3-2, Roby is going to get extremely powerful. And if he can roll the dice in his favor, end up with that Twitch 3, the Vex 3, a 3-star frontline in the Pantheon, and a Mumu, we could actually see a board that is a very safe top 4. I know actually on the GSC, Twin Terror did not win very often, but it was almost always a top 4. It was something nearing a 70% top 4 rate, but a relatively low win rate. So in something like this prismatic Symphony lobby, I'm curious to see if it's going to be able to cap out high enough for that top 2 finish.
Yeah, that is really interesting, actually, because that's a crazy top 4 rate, right? But I guess other compositions, like those either other, 3-cost rerolls or those super capped, based armor 4-cost carry boards are going to be able to do it. That's a glove slam that actually, a belt slam that wins the round for Roby. These are these little micro niche plays that separate the good players from the great players, gang. We both got excited about that one.
Okay,
seeing Roby take that win.
We've talked about the system changes that have come in this patch, right? A lot of players last patch, when offered Twin Terror, would be enticed to just full sell their board, stabilize in 3-2, have the open for it into high economy. This time around, though, because a lot of your gold, quite frankly, is coming from the gold you're generating by winning an individual round, Roby says, you know what, forget it. I don't mind having a belt on my Corky. It's good enough to give me 1 gold right now, and that honestly, every single gold counts in TFT, so you never know if that's going to be the difference maker.
Yeah, and I love that you bring that up because we're seeing that style of play from Ashmu right now. Basically, not quite full open, but essentially is making 10 gold right now in Econ. Has Twin Terror as well, so it's going to be contested in this lobby between Roby Van Knob and Ashmu. Ashmu really wants to go big or go home in this game, right? Especially starting off in game number 1 with an 8th. He's like, all right, Twin Terror. Sure, insta click. I wonder if he scouted and saw Roby take it, right? Because it's almost one of those things that if you see it presented to you, you want to click it the fastest. Because if other players scout, they're like, oh, I'm being contested. Maybe I don't want to play Twin Terror. There are multiple comps that can work out with this play style, but of course, the most obvious one we did, talk about it, or at least Casanova did at start of day, is with that Twitch, Pantheon, Vex, and a Mumu. But are there any other options getting that stand out to you in terms of Twin Terror, or is it just really that one?
Well, I think there honestly is a world where if they're really afraid of contesting each other, that one player ends up rolling on 6, the other rolls on 7. You play some sort of Samira-based Twin Terror, because the reality is you're playing Twin Terror, you're going to want to play around those Executioners. I imagine maybe there's some sort of punk variation with the Jinx as well, but it's just not something I would really want to hedge my bets on right now. So I think, honestly, in this position, if you're Ashmu, you really have one goal, which is to make sure you have more money than Roby, because the only objective from here on out is hitting. And whether you have 10 health, 50 health, 1 health, it doesn't matter, because if you hit this headliner Twitch, this 3-star Twitch, a strong front line, it's going to carry you through the mid game. So I'm very interested to see, oh wow, and actually I say that, and Ashmu does take the win. So Ashmu, I was going to say, is in a position where he could opt for the, though nerfed, the open fort style of play, but does not do that, does take the win in that next one. So we'll have to see the econ of these two players going into stage 3.
Nothing super crazy in the augments. I suppose like Caretaker's Chosen for a Berry might have some really big value when we get to that, level 6 and level 8, especially getting that Radiant item. I like Cats getting just all of those components out of Buried Treasure. Darth Nub, did take at least a loss or two, but with that Spoils of War, really wants to be farming every single item possible. But DK has a spat, has a 1 component opener, and 50 gold at 2-5. Gangly, this is an open fort playstyle. They're wondering, can it work out? But I think having 50 gold at this point means that, yeah, you're in a pretty good spot.
Yeah, I mean, open fort is weaker, right? It got nerfed from generating 10 gold in stage 2 to 6. However, this is the condition in which you would want to play open fort. When you have the econ opener, it means that your board strength naturally is going to be lower than everyone else's. On top of that, you're playing new recruit, which some of your power is in having 1 additional unit, but some of that power is also in this Nico's help that's going to be on your bench, or the champion duplicator, excuse me. So DK is going to be able to change the curve of his power level from having a relatively strong stage 2 board that goes win-loss to playing around, rolling on 3-5, and either maybe 2-starring a 4 cost or even using this champion duplicator around a 3 cost. I actually don't think it's that bad value, despite the fact that it is the stronger champion duplicator.
100%. And hey, I too, my brain always goes to calling it Nico's help in the first, and I remind myself, oh, it's champion duplicator.
We're old people.
I know, we've been around too long at this point, Giggly. We're too old. But Ashmu, oh yeah, go ahead.
Interesting. I mean, so here's, I imagine this is probably just an item holder, but I did call it out before. There is a Punk Jinx variation of Twin Terror. However, it looks like he has not pumped any gold into leveling up. So there is a potential to play around this. It is significantly weaker than the Twitch variation. And so there's a world where Ashmu says, you know what, I've gotten 8th in the first game anyway. I might as well just contest and pray that I hit. Or we'll see, maybe he can say, if this is strong enough to net me a 5th or a 6th playing around the Jinx Twin Terror variation, it's good enough for me, and I'll make it back up in the next game.
Yeah, that's definitely interesting.
Oh, wow.
That's gonna be a Twitch headliner found for Darth Nub, and gonna be just farming a dummy there versus T-Lides in this round. Kai Wang, the only player to 100 HP streak into neutrals. T-Lides working with some early 8-bit stacking. That one up has the IE like you were talking about last game, Gangly. It's just such a good item. So many compositions use it so well. And there's a Yone on the board already, actually selling out of that headliner Corki to try to find a better one. Maybe if T-Lides gets some gold here, it's going to pre-level to 5, maybe find a 2-cost headliner to carry the IE for just a little bit. But T-Lides, another player who hasn't really pumped any gold yet, is just trying to get that economy online.
No, yeah, there are a lot of players greeting their econ right now, some of which had the econ opener, some of which honestly might have just said, hey, I can't beat these players on the top of the standings right now. I don't have a chance of winning. So maybe it's better to make 1 additional econ interval. Maybe it's better to get into that loose streak where now I'm generating 1 gold per turn. And, oh wow, T-Lights does find Samira, Urgot, and the Tom Kench. All of a sudden, this is a pretty good spot to play some sort of country reroll.
Yeah, it's not bad. I mean, Last Whisper does, typically go on the Smira, but with that Even Shroud can just maybe go a Giant Slayer and another IE. IE stacking on Smira is so strong, and I think that definitely has to be at least a consideration, if not just being played for the mid game. Moving over back to DK, they had so much gold and tried to find a level 6 board where they can stabilize. The front line is okay. You got a couple Sentinels, a few Guardians, but a Rageblade, Deathcap, and IE on a pentakill Kale, Gangly. Kale, not a unit that we see as a mid-game carry that often, but she can do a lot of pretty solid work.
No, so I'm gonna expose myself a little bit, because obviously I know Kale reroll is a thing. I am not entirely confident on the conditions upon which it is actually good, because what I know is that it was played 8 games in the GSC and averaged a 7. So
Averaged a 7 over 8 games?
It did. It did in fact
Okay,
do that.
let's not even think about that, Kyle. Throw it out the window. Get it out of here.
So yeah, but you know what? He did roll pretty deep on 3-2 to stabilize and does have the Nico and is holding 4 kills at the moment. So maybe there's an angle for it. And I'm definitely not in love with any of these augment options right now, especially because you've already committed so much of your item economy towards slamming those items on Kale.
Pharmacist was the pickup
Pharmacist.
there.
Interesting pickup. Typically a lot stronger in those melee carries, right? But with those items that you've slammed on the Kale, it feels like if I'm DK, I'm very dizzy at the moment. So we'll see how he digs himself out.
All right, we're going to be upping the average of the kill reroll. Ashmu, however, has found a pivot into Twin Terror, but has rolled so low and is on 1-star copies of everything, not even a pair of Twitch to save Ashmu here, Gangly. This looks rough.
I will say though, this is lucky gloves right on Ashmu right now. So any Thieves Gloves in the hands of these units is going to roll very strong items. Lucky Gloves in the hand of Executioners in particular is so powerful because you do get the native crit from the Thieves Gloves in addition to the powerful items that it's going to generate. So even though it looks really bad, the power level of this 1-star board is significantly higher than it should be because,
gonna win.
Truth be told, these are some best-in-slot augments for Twitch reroll.
I love you look at the positive side, gang. That was too doomer. Thanks for balancing out
I
this
got you, don't worry.
dynamic here, especially with multiple Thieves Gloves being rolled,
so
right? The
bad.
Amumu and the Vex. No, in a rough spot economy-wise and units-wise, but yes, the augments are going to be pretty good. If he does, high roll a little bit of, say, matchmaking, can get that economy back, maybe high roll a Twitch headliner, then we can start to see the comeback happen. Moving back over to DK, and I'm honest, I'm not unhappy to be here because I want to see what this Kale is cooking, right? Surely this is Biss Kale, right? No, it's obviously not going to be a Biss Kale, but now that you've mentioned it and gotten this idea of Kale reroll into my mind, I just can't stop thinking about it, and I want to see it, and I don't know if this is the spot for it. In fact, I think it's not. But still, the opportunity is here.
I think it's not. So it makes a little bit more sense to me now. I had thought that he had slammed this Rage Blade. I did not realize that it was a super fan item. This does change the landscape of this board quite a bit. All of a sudden, you have this spat open, you have the Rabadon's Death Cap and the IE, which means that you can play this IE on Akali, you have the Rabadon's Death Cap for Karthus, you can make a pentakill spat. This actually looks like a pretty strong line alongside the Champion Duplicator to play around a level 8 pentakill board. Ashmu doing some weaving too. Don't know if you caught that.
Yeah.
He went between the units and then went back to the one that he weaved between just to show off.
Oh man, that micro is very, very impressive. Tried it myself, but no, I'm too old and washed up to execute it like these young TFT players here. No, but that is impressive. A little bit of micro. Did wrap back around to get the Zed with the sword. And just that 4 gold, right, is really going to do a lot of work for Ashmu. Sword is fantastic for a Twitch item in the future. Beery, though, playing Hardsteel, Gangly. We get to see some hype finally out of this, raising the stakes, trying to lose out on these rounds here in stage 3 and get a big cash out to then go all the way into a huge win streak.
All right, so I was in that carousel. I noticed that Beery was level 5, and I thought to myself, I don't think we saw anybody in a position where they're re-rolling some 1 cost and they got stuck on it, right?
Yeah.
All of a sudden, this makes sense. He was level 5 in the first half of that stage 3 because he's raising the stakes. Now, for anyone who's not familiar with this is the new mechanic in Heartsteel, which essentially means after your initial cash out, you can choose to not reap the rewards of your cash out and instead raise the stakes where you will get double the heart of your Heartsteel every turn. However, if you lose, you will immediately cash out at half of your current stack. So this is a very high risk, high reward decision by Beery, which makes sense when you look at his second augment option there too, which was that final, or was that, I'm not saying it right now, I don't know if it was final reserves or if it was vampirism. It was one of those though.
Yeah, I unfortunately missed it myself. We can get a chance to see it a bit later. But no, I do really enjoy seeing this kind of Heartsteel playstyle on the new patch, because your stage 3 is going to make or break your game. It was only on 3
Wait.
Heartsteel, and you really see that come through with 5 Heartsteel. What you looking at?
I'm looking at this other Twin Terror board on our screen right now, right? It is not the Twitch variation. It's a variation
No.
I cannot say I've never seen. But I will say, if you think about the player piloting this Twin Terror board, if there is someone in this lobby that is going to cook up something spicy, it's going to be Roby. This is one of those players who historically has not been considered the top upper echelon of North American TFT, but somehow always finds himself qualifying through the Last Chance qualifier, making a deep run in the regional finals. We saw him at the Last Chance qualifier for the World Championship not too long ago, and he loves to cook and play creative lines that net himself an edge over other people who will not who wouldn't dare contest him on that line. So sorry to cut you off. It really did shock me to see that Lulu reroll here.
Hey, if you see something exciting, you know, it's worth mentioning right there, and you're being hyped about it. Definitely hyped to see that Ashmu found a Twitch headliner as well. It does have the Thieves Gloves, and the 1-star Twitch had the red buff and the sword, but I think that does spell a little bit of hope for Ashmu's spot, which is able to recover the economy a little bit as we look at Beery and this cash out. Finds a Jhin and has blue buff Gunblade on it. I like this a lot. Needs to make some bench space work out here, but on 4-2, I believe, is going to go to level 8 and try to find something. And actually, if you can find an Ezreal in the GSC, we've actually seen a decent amount of Ezreal flex boards be really strong, make it into the top 3, top 2 in some situations. Hard to win the lobby with it, but definitely can be solid, especially finding as early of a Jhin as he did.
Yeah, I mean, one of the primary conditions when you're looking to play around that Ezreal is being able to have the Heartsteel online. And oh my goodness, the Twin Terrors go head to head, but this Lulu reroll, that's 8 Lulus on the side of Robivan right now.
Oh my.
Coming out on top, and Roby actually looking to really cook something spicy up and maybe make a deep run with it.
Golden egg, click.
Oh,
no, I don't think this is the spot for Ashmu. It's not at all. It would be hype though, but
That's right.
Arm assist, blinding speed, not quite as valued because there already is a red buff on this board.
Talent
Probably
search
just
sounds
gonna reroll that.
very strong to me here, right? If you think about it, right, you're playing around the shape of the game where you want to 3-star your entire board. If you have these 3-star units, all of which can get that headliner bonus and the additional stats, you're going to get a ton of value because it will, in one way or another, be either add or multiply off of the high base stats you're getting from the 3-star units.
Yeah, DK has made this open fort playstyle work out into a vertical pentakill. Has Nikali on the board, does have that pentakill emblem for her as well, but most items are going to go on that Viego because that is going to be the headliner, is the upgraded unit right now, but only a Titans and an IE. DK is not quite as strong as they want to be, but with a couple more upgrades, will be at that spot. Runs into, I feel like we see this composition so much, right? We see like 3 rounds in a row, and it continues to just be dominant with Roby Van Knob, and it's still only that double Lulu 2, right? We haven't even hit that Lulu 3 yet.
That's right. Yeah, so much power from there. Part of that coming from the additional hyper pop of finding the Ziggs on level 7, so you now have 2 Lulus on the board and a Ziggs constantly giving each other an additional cast because of the increase in mana of the hyper pop. On the other end, though, we have Ashmu still looking for that Twitch 3, but we are seeing how powerful those augments are because despite the fact that he has not hit, he's still sitting in a pretty decent spot at 53 HP.
Yeah, Ashmu also didn't take Talent Search, instead took Roll the Dice, and I was agreeing with you there that Talent Search would have been pretty solid for that board, but Ashmu not liking that option. Looking at Darth Nub right now, we have some Executioners, but there's a lot of Vex being contested in this lobby, means that Darth Nub is stuck on a Vex 1. There is a very powerful Samira though, and a solid enough front line to win some rounds here at this point, but Darth Nub is not looking like they're in a really good spot, right? They're stuck on level 7. They're kind of low HP, still 2 Samiras away from Samira 3, only 10 gold to roll. There was a decent amount of gold on the bench to work with, right? But they got to find it right now, and they find a Samira on the carousel, gangly, so just one more for Darth Nub to find that tier 3.
Two huge hits right off the bat of that carousel. We have Darthanub taking the Samira, but we also have Biri taking the Yorick on the other end, which now opens up the door for Biri to play around that additional pentakill, maybe look for that 7 pentakill. I know he has the Edgelord headliner for Viego, but the fact that he also has the pentakill emblem does mean that that door is now open, despite the fact that he doesn't have the headliner. Wow, great hit from Darthanub there. Really does want to have, oh no, excuse me, he has binary airdrop. So because, oh, okay. Opts to just say, you know what, Giant Slayer is better than anything that's going to roll. I still have enough components and items to give binary airdrop value to my my Vex, excuse me.
Yeah.
So yeah, feels really good for Darthanub, and Roby on the other side also finds his 3-star, 3-cost Roby sitting in a really pretty spot. Oh, we're going head to head.
Head to head against these re-rollers. Roby had to roll to 0, and so did Darthnub. But will the CC from Lulu be enough? There's so much damage coming out of this Samira, especially with the Infinity Force. But a couple more Lulu casts could do it. The CC from Vex, though, is the difference. It's a 1-star Vex Gangly, but that's all you need because that CC is just so powerful, making her one of the best units in the game right now, if not the best.
Oh, here we go. We got a Heartsteel cash out. He lied.
He's taking it.
All right. He was thinking for a little bit. I was curious what was going on, but yeah, he does have Yone 3, so I don't think he's expecting to lose these upcoming fights. Does have the Heartsteel variation. This is something when set 10 was introduced, we saw a lot of players not consider the Heartsteel variation of things like Yone and Ezreal when rolling down. However, because 3 cost is so contested, it's one of those things where you really do kind of want to show off that you're playing this very quickly. And I'm going to stop myself, the point I'm making, because what really matters on this board right now is that Biri has final reserves and golden egg on the side of their board.
Oh my gosh.
And 2 HP does mean that they have 1 more life because final reserves.
Hey, 2 HP, that's BIS right now, right? You get an extra life, you lost by a lot of units, but it wasn't quite enough. Get more life to proc that egg, get that final reserves XP. I wonder how many rounds is left on that egg, right? It's been here since 4-2. We've lost 4 rounds in a row, so still it's a long way to go, actually.
A very long way, yeah.
Very long way to go to cash that out, but 50 gold. Level 8, Biri gonna get to go to 9 and try to find just a massive legendary board. There already has 1 copy of Jhin with, pretty BIS items.
Okay, I feel like every time I say I'm not convinced by something, I end up being proven wrong. But I'm really not convinced right now. If Biri
for real this time.
For real this time. If Biri is going to cash out, we're looking at what? Winning 3 rounds in a row after cash out, 2 rounds in a row. It's going to be, actually, yeah, no, I think it actually might be 3 rounds in a row. It's going to be quite an uphill battle. After this round, I would love to see how Biri does try and spike their board on level 9. But in the meantime, we've got this 3-star Yone online with all the additional defenses and the taunt of that Zizirot and Randuin. So some really strong boards in the scene right now, which makes Biri spot all the more scarier, right? You've got the 3-star Samira, 3-star Yone, 3-star Lulu. What matchup do you even want if you're Biri?
None of them. You want to fight a ghost, which means someone else has to die, which we're also really far away from. Even this matchup, right? Darthnub just got a set 3 that's so tanky, especially with this binary value, right? Giving 3, maybe it was even 4 actually items, full completed items. That's just so insane. But it's time for a Biri comeback. At least the potential of one. And just like you, Ganley, I'm not quite convinced, but I would actually love to be proven wrong here. It is some of the most exciting TFT. Goes to level 10.
We are level 10. Here's the roll down.
It down, Ganley. What's he gonna find?
Okay, finds the headliner Lucian. Yorick 2 is a huge hit. Finds a Thresh as well. Has the option to sell the Lucian. No, wants to hold on to that. Honestly, though, you really need frontline. This Lucian 2 is amazing, but unless you can have a little bit stronger frontline, you're not going to have enough time for it to do anything. Oh, no. We don't even have 10 units on the field.
8 out of 10. Good enough, surely,
We're still level 8.
We're still level 8, basically. Oh no, can he make it work against DK here? One life remaining, has to make this comeback happen. It is just an Akali 1, and the Jhin has a Gunblade, so it's going to keep healing, but does not survive the Karthus cast.
Okay.
It's all onto the Lucian. All this damage, Akali dashes through, but Beery survives. For at least one more round, we can get 10 units onto the board, Gangly, and really that's all we want at this point.
Okay, wait. This is a Radiant Rabadons on this Lucian, right? This is chosen. Okay, I am unsure what the AP scaling on Lucian is off the top of my head. This is not something we're extremely used to seeing.
We're cooking.
Yeah, we are definitely cooking, and I really want to know how many fights we need to win to actually get there. But honestly, the board is not bad. Like, it's a good board. We just desperately need the front line. My concern is if you go up against something like this Twitch 3 or those Lulu 3s with the Twin Terrors, and you have something that can really cut through the front line, are you going to have enough to actually make it through? We are going to hop on board, however, with Ashmu, who has the Twitch 3 online up against the Samira 3. This is something where Darthnub has a lot of options to bait out the cast, both from Twitch and Vex. And you can see it there, yeah, with the Alawi on board, with the spread out front line, the Twitch and Vex are not able to do anything to win that fight.
Yeah, I actually was really impressed with Ashmu's spot, right? Before this round, they were 26 HP, sitting in third. And even from that kind of terrible spot that we saw at 3-2, could still even salvage this into a top 4. That would be so impressive. Or obviously Twin Terror is super strong right now, but to have the discipline and the patience to save all that gold and still roll and hit the Twitch 3, be able to go to level 7, play 4 Executioners is super well done. But like we keep mentioning, there's so many strong boards in this lobby. And the Samira 3 set 3 from Darthnub was able to take him down in that round. Maybe just one life remaining for Ashmu and everyone below him, right? DK 8 HP, Kaiwang with 6, and again Beery, right? Just 1 HP and a Dream. DK has 6 Karthuses and a Duplicator, but has to just use it on the Akali to try to salvage his spot here.
Yeah, DK, I mean, we're looking at a board that normally you would say is quite strong. There's a lot of value here. There's a lot of power. However, the fact that we have, like you called out, Darthnub's set 3, Samira 3, we have the Twin Terror 3 stars online as well. We have Beery with this level 10 board with, I'm assuming, a little bit more frontline at this point in time. I'm not entirely convinced that DK has enough here to really salvage this game into a top 4. I think some of it's just going to be matchup dependent. He's up against that Twin Terror board from Ashmu right now, but yeah, like you called out, DK is going to go out here. Just a question of whether he's going out in 8th or if someone loses a little bit worse, as we see Kaiwing fall as well.
3 players going out, actually. Kaiwing looks like falls the hardest, minus 10 HP out in 8th. DK in 7th.
We're level 12.
But then we are level 12 essentially, Gangly, as the golden egg pops. Beery able to win 3 rounds in a row and get to this point. We have 2 tacticians crowns, get to put in so many more units, and all of a sudden Beery is threatening a lobby winning composition. This has really come through. You love to see it.
This is really good because now I know that quite literally anytime I say that I'm not convinced, it actually just means that it is the case and that it's going to work out.
I'll never trust you again.
No, seriously, me neither. He's going to have to beat Ashmu's board, which is strong, right? And he has a lot of potential to break through frontline because of all the power in these Executioners, but... Wow.
Ashmu walking away there. Oh, you hate to see it. He was such, on him. Yeah, he was in such a strong spot too to try to top 4 this game. We were talking about his spot just a moment ago being actually salvageable, but Beery has made the impossible happen here. Final reserves into Golden Egg, and it's just an unfortunate matchup to run into. Ashmu really feeling the pain after that one, especially with going 8th in game number 1. Again, bot 4s back-to-back.
I also want to call out this tiniest Titan on the side of Roby, right? We didn't really talk about it too much, but with the lobby tempo being so high, including Roby, despite the fact that he was able to hit, he's actually getting even more value of the fact that he hit and is regenerating HP every round, and was able to outlast the competition despite the fact that he was on a 4-loss streak towards the end of stage 5. So able to secure a top 4, and from this point on, even if you can squeeze out a third, you're going to be really happy with that.
Darth Nub still trying to roll for some more 3 stars, is 2 Urgots away, 3 Vexes away, and still has multiple lives left, is on an 8-win streak, so isn't really feeling pressure. I suppose a Mumu 3 is perhaps in the cards as well, but the discipline from Darth Nub to wait out everybody else, to fall over and the units go back into the pool. Love seeing this spot here. Samira 3 and Set 3 have been strong enough. Now going up against T-Lights and that Yone. Yone is trying to make it through all these units, but especially the binary value, it's just too much. The Vex CC comes through as well, and Darth Nub finds yet another win. 9 now in a row, dropping T-Lights to 18. Roby Van Knob drops to 9, and all of a sudden Darth Nub is sitting at the top of the lobby.
I will say it is quite shocking that Darth Nub has dodged Biri for 9 straight rounds. And on the flip side, that means that Biri dodged Darth Nub before he actually was able to cash out, right? So pretty interesting there. Darth Nub has to feel pretty good about that. And in the end, that matchmaking could be the difference for Darth Nub between going first, second, or potentially even third, because of the damage that a board with 12 units on the field can actually deal.
Yeah, Roby Van Knob with that Lulu Twin Terror going up against T-Lides here. That CC will be good against Yone, but Yone already gets to the front line. Might not even be able to get there, sure. Oh, the Polymorph doesn't even go onto it. And Roby Van, while he was cooking, and you love to see it, is going to go out, and I would assume is 4th place here, assuming Biri wins against Darth Nub, which... No, does not happen, actually. Darth Nub was so powerful. Biri takes the 4th place, Gangly.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, I said that Darth Nub dodged Biri, but I guess Biri was the one that was dodging him. And at this point in time, Set 3, Urgot 3, Samira 3, and now the Vex 3, all of which are getting an additional item from the binary airdrop. This is an extremely strong board. At this point in time, it's just a question of whether or not that Yone can get into that backline, or if the Vex CC and all of the damage output is going to be enough. I think this is going to be a tough match for the Yone to win. We'll see. Maybe positioning can be the difference, though.
Is positioning going to be the difference? Yone is on the side of, after he gets through the thresh, could wrap around into the back line, but does get stunned up just a little bit against that thresh. It's so tanky. That's the HP bars, unfortunately, but we see Yone, and that's the big one, but he does fall. Right. The Vex and the Samira still in the back lines, drops T-Lides to just 1 HP. We get a chance to see the stage 6 carousel. Anything on here? There's a country emblem.
There is a country emblem, but we're on the executioner variation. So yeah, we'll see. Not exactly sure if
he can get to 5 somehow if he drops. Yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I don't know exactly what he can take out, but there is the Kane 2 now with Giant Slayer, and I imagine that Edge of Night going there as well. Yeah, that's right. So Harmestis 3, Giant Slayer, Edge of Night. These are the items you would want on a Kane 2 to potentially be able to go through some of those 3-star units on the other side. But that fight was very one-sided. It's hard to imagine that it's going to be the difference. But at this point, I'm just going to say it was enough, because who knows?
Potentially the final fight of the game. Darth Nub looking to make this 11 streak into a 12. The Vex opens up with a blue buff from that binary. So much CC, so much value, but Yone is finding his way into the back line. Another Vex cast. Actually, Yone is going to miss that slash, it looks like, and cannot dodge all of the damage. Darth Nub, 12 win streaks all the way into 1st place in game number 2. You love to see it. A kind of creative approach to that board as well, Gangly, with the more so vertical executioners, but finding so many 3-stars, I think, and playing that game super well to get to that point.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of players that I think would find the executioner variation of Samira in their shop there and say, you know what, this isn't good enough. And they would skip it, and they would look for that country, because traditionally that's been the higher cap, right? Even by the numbers. Country Samira does outperform executioner Samira. However, Darth Nub was in one of these spots where, between all the value he had it was really not a matter of having the traits empower your board as much as being able to find those 3-star units as fast as possible and get the binary airdrop value that was able to tip the scale. So I think that's a really heads-up play by Darthnum, and it's those small decisions that in a competitive field of TFT, being willing to opt into something that might technically by the numbers be lower value, knowing that your spot calls for those conditions to be called upon is the reason why these players are playing in the field. Now, we are going to take a quick break before we go to game number 3, so don't go anywhere. We'll be back in just a few minutes for more action of the KDA Cup.
We are back to break down the second game of day number 3 of the TFT KDA Cup. Azael and Casanova back on the analyst desk. And this game also proved to be so interesting right from the start. We got a triple prismatic lobby, and with that came so many fun twists and surprises.
Yeah, it was a really, really crazy game. We talked about Twin Terror at the start of the day. That was the comp that Cass was highlighting. And 2 players actually went Twin Terror. One going the very standard route. Ashmu was playing basically the exact comp that you were highlighting at the start of the day, Cass. And he had probably the worst roll down I feel like I've ever seen. At 3-2, like rolled straight to 0 with 50 gold at level 6. Didn't hit a headliner. Didn't hit a single 2-star of any of the units in the comp. And at 4-3 into the game, he still didn't even have a 2-star Vex. Like, it was pretty insane how bad his roll down was. But even with that, he still was able to manage to get a 5th, which I think is pretty impressive that he was able to actually, kind of clutch that out. On the other side, Roby, who you want to talk about, Cass, played a very different line.
Yeah, so Roby, I mean, he actually played a Twin Terror line that I haven't seen a lot of people experiment with. I think
I've never seen it.
I've heard people talk about it, but I hadn't seen any gameplay of it, which is playing around a Lulu. And it requires you to have a JG or a Jeweled Lotus, right, to get full value out of the critical strike coming from the Twin Terror. But Roby used it because of the fact that it was completely uncontested to play for these units. He saw how contested the Executioner line was going to be, and he looked at his items and he's like, okay, well, this can go for an AP line. And because of that, he hit everything he needed very quickly, and he tempoed to that top 4 very easily. And now he wasn't able to cap out as high as a lot of the other players in this triple prismatic lobby, but because of the tempo he bought himself, it gave him a really safe top 4 when Twin Terror is usually that big cap out that you can play for first. In this spot, it was like, it's too contested. Let me play this more consistent way. And it worked really great for Roby.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was really smart. Even the fact that he took Tiniest Titan, right? Like keeping his HP high, keeping his his economy high. He pushed levels. He went in uncontested line because it wasn't even just that there was a Twin Terror player that was contesting him. We had a country player. We had other people splashing in like Amumu's and Vexes and things as well into their comp, which are just kind of popular units. So it was really, really contested to play that standard line. So I thought it was really clever that he actually recognized a different way that he could play it out, keep his health high, guarantee that top 4 was really cool. And someone else that I thought was playing a very, very interesting strategy was Biri. Like, just went for basically like Scrooge McDuck, straight up, just the greediest option at all stages. Put in Heartsteel at really high HP. Then went for Raise the Stakes, got the Raise the Stakes cash out, still had 51 HP after getting that, and got a pretty big cash out. Then takes Final Reserves, then takes Golden Egg. And it was just the greediest possible decision at every single turn. Was able to get the Final Reserves, hit level 10, got a Lucian Headliner in. I think the level 10 roll down was a little bit questionable because was skipping a lot of the frontliners. Really, I think was looking for those perfect backliners, but I think it ended up being a bit greedy because they couldn't really get that perfect frontline very quick that they wanted. Ended up finishing out in a 4th, and it's interesting, right? Because the Golden Egg proc got double Fawn plus Thieves Gloves, but still, even with essentially level 12, wasn't able to break into the top 3.
Yeah, it's like, how do we go forth that? And I think it's funny because we always called the like legendary boards like the Bill Gates comp, but with this, because he was so rich, you had to go fictional, right? It had to be Scrooge McDuck. We couldn't name. There's no one as rich that could go for that kind of composition.
I mean, quantity is not always quality. Sadly is not.
I guess 12 units is not as quality as Darth Nub's board, who was playing around the Executioners, was kind of flexing around them early on and going for the units that were uncontested. He kind of ignored Vex early. He was playing a 1-star Vex for most of this game, still itemized it because of the binary value and how good that is with this board, but recognizing that, hey, I have a good spot, I have good crit items. Samira ended up relatively uncontested, eventually fully uncontested, and he rolled for that. And then he recognized, okay, Amumu is far too contested in this game, rolls for Set, who no one was playing in this current lobby. Darth Nub hits both of them pretty early on, outlives everyone else, and then